Richard, wanted to start off with you. We're almost to hurricane season.
Yeah, happy hurricane season.
Yeah, so we're almost there, and it sounds like the predictions are that it's going to be a light season, which is, relatively good news. But how often are the meteorologists correct on that?
Right, exactly. And what we always say in the insurance industry is that it only takes one. They can predict one storm, but if it lands on top of you, then you're in a bad situation. So do your due diligence, buy your supplies, get your trees trimmed. That's a big one. I made an appointment with a tree company to have them come over and trim the big oak tree that's close by to our house, because most of the damage in this area doesn't come from the wind blowing your roof off or water rising, unless you live in certain areas. But in my area out in Brandon, it comes from trees,
right.
Trees landing on houses, so make sure you get that taken
and
care
of. And I think, what's interesting is, I think that a lot of people, have a misconception about the difference between flood insurance and then wind coverage. And this is the time of year to really start thinking about your coverage. Maybe you've made more money in the last year. Maybe you have more equity and you're concerned about protecting your home. Maybe you moved into a new home and didn't take flood insurance because now is the time to start thinking about that optional coverage or the coverage that you passed on.
Right.
Or if you paid off your house and you don't have to have coverage because you don't have a bank loaning you money. It's surprising how how minimal of a cost it can be when it's not required. And a lot of people out there, if we do get hit with the big one, you could have paid pennies, well, not pennies, but a few $100s a year to get great coverage. And I'm sure a lot of people in New Orleans, from Katrina, looking back, wish they would have.
Well, and just remember that just because you don't live on Clearwater Beach doesn't mean that you don't need flood insurance. I grew up in Brandon, and there were certain areas when it rained hard, there was water in people's houses, and you knew where those areas were. So, it is relatively inexpensive if you're not in a high flood zone, in a really active flood zone. The maximum that it could cost is about $400 a year if you're in one of those preferred flood zones.
Right, and I think that's what a lot of people will wait till it's too late. They'll wait till there's a storm coming and then freak out and panic and think, man, I should have got it. Let me call my insurance agent. And you and I both know if there's a storm out in the water and you ain't getting coverage.
Well, and the thing about flood insurance in the first place is if you're buying it, there is a 30-day wait. So
right.
If Hurricane Katrina starts brewing out in the middle of the Gulf and you get nervous, it's probably too late at that
right.
point because you have a 30-day wait before it'll go into effect.
Right. So I think, again, for a lot of people, it's cheap insurance for what it covers. And again, it's for some people that maybe have so much money that they can be self-insured, it's not needed. But there are people out there that it could really wreck if they didn't have it, and we got flooded, or we got hit with a big storm. So is this the time of year that you guys do see more people raising their hand and saying, hey, okay, I got to do this? Do you write more flood policies starting around now because of the buzz about it?
Yeah, we write some. It's not a big flood of customers because I think people decide when they buy their house, either, hey, I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it. Just keep in mind, again, I can't stress this enough. People say, well, I don't live in Pinellas County, so why do I need flood insurance for? And we have customers in Lakeland and Dover and places like that. What you need to look at is you need to look at the land surrounding your property
and how high you are.
And if the land comes sloping down towards your house, yeah, I definitely, without a doubt, buy flood insurance. If you sit on top of a hill out in Fishhawk somewheres, because that's pretty high. Elevations out there. Yeah,
maybe you don't need it.
Maybe you don't need it, but just take a good look at the land surrounding your property.